Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's your boy, Kevin Thornton. If you have tuned into the Wellness Architect Show, today is Monday, April 6, 2020. It's a great day in the ATL. Excuse my look. You know, we've been quarantining, so I have not been to a barbershop in like 2 weeks. So, just pardon my look right now. But the show must go on. With that being With that being said, first of all, I want to say thank you for still supporting the show and all the love that we've been receiving the past few weeks on all the on the feedback we've been receiving, all the new listeners we've been receiving, all that. So we really greatly appreciate it. We have an amazing show to you today. I look forward to it. But before I talk about my guests, I want to talk to you about my lovely co-host, Ms. Lois Richey. How are you doing, ma'am? Okay.
If I was doing any better, Kevin, I will tell you, there would be two of me telling two of you the same thing two times. So I'm doing phenomenal.
I see you do. I see you busy on social media. You be doing a lot. I see you.
Hey, you know I got a great coach, Kevin Thornton. Right, we ride together.
I hear you. I appreciate
that.
Thank
you so much for the acknowledgement. I appreciate it. And I'm just so happy to be back on the show with you again, as we help to people to ignite and take flight and be the best version of themselves that they're to be. So tonight, our word that we want to share with you is one about the pillars of wellness. And there are 7 pillars of wellness. And this week, we're going to share the pillar of wellness with you that talks about emotional wellness. So if any of you are on with us and you understand what I mean about emotional wellness, please go ahead and put a one down below. Okay, emotional wellness. So typically I go right to Webster to find out what emotional wellness is. And so I'm going to tell you, emotional wellness is a part of ourselves that help us remain calm, free of stress. And if we are not free of stress, our emotional wellness helps us to deal with stress effectively so that we're not having heart attacks or strokes dealing with stress because we are not in emotional wellness. So that's one way that I like to define it. And so now I'm going to Webster. Emotional wellness, as Webster put it, says that it inspires self-care, relaxation, stress reduction, and the development of inner strength. So it's critically important that you develop this because you have to be attentive to both your positive and negative stressors and your eustress. You have to be attentive to your feelings and your emotions. And that is just one of the pillars of wellness that we're going to share with you tonight, because we've got a phenomenal guest coming on. And I got to tell you, he's going to help continue to blow our socks off and just lead us into the real concept of what it means to be well. So, Kevin, I really want to show who we got on the show tonight. Can I show you? Because I'm super excited.
Can you please do so?
Bam! There it is. We got David Walton. And look, I was going to put his middle name. It starts with a K, right? but it's kind of long and it's so amazing and it's so wonderful. So we're gonna ask Dave to come on up because Dave is in the house. Dave, tell people who you are and what you do, and don't forget to put that middle name in there.
All right. Well, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Good.
Awesome.
Doing great.
Awesome. Well, my name is Dr. David Walton. Most people know me as Kalonji. So David Kalonji is what many people call me. From Romulus, Michigan, right outside Detroit, Michigan. Got 2 PhDs from Michigan State, one in history and one in Black Studies. So much of what I'll be discussing with you will be from a Black Studies trained perspective and the importance of knowledge of self to self-wellness.
Yes.
Now,
So-
what you
so,
don't
Doctor-
know, Lotus, is we went to college together.
Oh,
So-
then he's smart too.
So he
Well,
went.
he got 2 doctorates. I mean, so we know.
Indeed. Oh, I went to undergrad at Eastern Michigan University. I should have started there. That's the home. That's the foundation.
That's the.
I got my first Black Studies degree from Eastern Michigan University. Changed my life. I discovered who I was as a person.
Mhm.
It was a lot of ups and downs because I was a little kid. But yes, me and Kevin went to undergrad together. I'm sorry, brother.
You good,
We
brother?
fly high. True EMU.
And let me tell you this, folks. David is so cool and so laid back, but you guys know how I am. I believe if you study hard and you study long, you didn't study wrong. So I like to make sure I celebrate people and let people know who they are, not just from an accolade standpoint, but y'all, this is Dr. David Kalonji Walton. Pow!
And you know what? Before we get started with him, my intentions all the time is always to inspire, educate, and empower people to be the best version of themselves, mind, body, and spirit. But additionally, I'm very big on showcasing Black men doing great things because people like Kalonji is not often shown on mainstream TV or in society. People like him is not celebrated, and so
Exactly.
therefore, people base what they believe of us based on TV, what they see of us on TV. So a lot of times they don't believe that we are as intelligent as we are, especially Black men. So for a man like him to have 2 PhDs, that says something, but it needs to be celebrated, like you said. It also, showcased because it's more of him out there than it is what you see on TV. So
Exactly. And Doc, we want to share this with you too. Some people say, well, Lotus, why you need to say that he's Dr. David Walton or Dr. David Kalonji Walton? And the reason why I make it critically important to share that is because there are a lot of people out there that feel like they can't do it. There are so many people in their doctorate programs that are struggling because it's hard, doing all that study. I know because I was in my doctoral program when I was over in Japan, and it's not easy. But I highlight that to let them know there is hope. Stay in the race. Don't give up. If Dr. David Kalonji Walton could do it, he is a beacon of hope to everybody out there that's trying to do it. And for that little girl or that little boy that's trying to figure out what they want to do, and you don't think that you can be a doctor too, well, I'm saying, yes, you can. And that's why we put it out there.
Indeed.
thank you. So Kalonji, I thought about you because I'm doing some research on a project I'm doing, and I have posted on social media about some schools that have great programs in African American studies, and one of the girls from school tagged you, and you instantly ran them off of me. So I do appreciate that, first of all.
My pleasure.
And then when I connected with you, I was like, okay, I need to have him on the show because
Yes.
what I wanted to do is, 2020 is gonna be a year of, healing, for our culture, mind, body, and spirit. And I think the one key to help us in our complete healing is understanding, that, sometimes that because of the fact that we don't know our culture, we don't know our history, that we tend to feel like we don't know who we are as a whole. So that makes us feel less than or emotionally unwell. So I want you.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean,
Go for it.
We become uncentered as an individual and as a culture. And what do I mean by uncentered? Well, your centeredness reflects your worldview, and your worldview is defined by your culture.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So all that is determined by identity, right? This is what Carter G. Woodson, the Black historian, was telling us in Miseducation of the Negro.
Right.
That if you can control someone's identity, you can control their worldview, then you can control their culture.
Right.
So that decenteredness, where then now we're talking about W.E.B. Du Bois's double consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That veil and that double consciousness of evaluating ourselves through the eyes of others, or in this context, evaluating ourselves and our culture and our identity through the lenses of a foreign culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we will never measure up. In fact, we're in conflict, and that's what Du Bois was arguing. Two warring souls, right? I.e., double consciousness, one American and one African, right?
Right.
Now, something that we knew as a Black culture that no one would listen to us, it was through our cultural memory, now that has been proven in science, is that trauma can be passed through DNA from mother to child. So that leads to nervous conditions, anxiety, social disorders, and various disorders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Passed along. So that anxiety, that fear, that uncertainty, that uncenteredness that the mother feels while she has the baby in the womb, caused by society, caused by the child's father, caused by our family, and etc., is imprinted in the DNA. Those nervous conditions, that anxiety, right? And it's passed down. So the notion of one is at war with their own identity, and at war in trying to define the identity. Who gets to define it? The broader society or myself? Because I don't have a culture I'm centered in that normally by default will define my identity, develop my identity, embrace it and encourage it, and then what? Exploit it for the benefit of the broader community. That's what culture does. So when you're decentered, you're trying to find your identity. You're searching for your identity. And once you allow your identity to be defined by others, then we're leading to what? Self-destructive behavior that is what deemed key aspects of the culture.
Right.
Wow.
A manufactured artificial culture. It is not Black culture, but that is what is presented, and that is what Black people, young Black people, are reaching for.
Wow. That's very powerful. I love what you're saying. And those of you that's joined us, thank you for joining us. We want you to come on in. And when you come in, go ahead and put a number 2 in the comments below. And those of you that's already on the box, if you like what Dr. Walton is saying, I want you to go ahead and put a 3 in the comment below, so that if you need any help from him as we go, he'll see by the 3 that you want him to reach out to you. So make sure you put a 3 in the comment below to let us know that you like what he's saying. Because Doc, I gotta tell you, you've raised some amazing thoughts in my head, because when you started talking about how we experience this trauma and being certified in trauma and PTSD, helping my own clients and as well with Kevin, I understand about trauma. But one thing that is so profound that you talked about is that babies experience in the womb, and it is implanted on our DNA. Well, this is something that I wanted to kick out right here and now, and I know we're going to have to talk about this later. That's why when people say we are what we eat, when we eat meat, and nothing against those who don't eat meat, but when we eat meat, the trauma that the animal has gone through to be put on our plates, we eat that drama.
Absolutely.
We eat that. And so we make that a part of ourself, and it transcends a physical thing. It also ushers into a spiritual part of us. And so we take on that trauma. So wow, right. I love what you're saying.
But see, then we are taught now White people call it holistic health, homeopathic medicine. They used to call it the root and the slave medicine and the voodoo. That's what they used to call it.
Right.
Herbology, right?
Right.
Yes.
So, which was indicative to any, to be honest, pre-Abrahamic faith society.
Mm-hmm.
They call it pagan. They call it a lot of things. Alchemy. It's 1,000 million names for it, right? But if we just look at it non-biased and just call it herbology, all of those things were included in our diet.
Right.
Right.
Right? To manage some of those very things that we're talking about. Now, for example, my ex-wife, when I would get irritated, and I'm easily irritated by ignorance, she would make me take some St. John's root. Some St. John's root. Right?
Uh-huh.
I didn't need to take no medicine that the white doctor was going to prescribe to me. So, not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying I didn't have any of those conditions, and some people take those drugs, abuse those drugs, without having those real diagnoses, just trying to get by, like taking Adderall to study better. Right?
Right.
I mean, the simple things in foods, right? I mean, people talk about eating certain foods and having what? Nightmares. Right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're talking about things that I'm not an expert in, but we know because in art, so studying art from Black studies perspective, right, we deal with the psychology of what the artist is trying to express, the issues the artist is trying to address. So, you know, we recognize that in things like dreams, nightmares, daydreams, you know, that food makes us have certain negative or positive reactions in that way. So that is telling us something physiologically, right? But we don't control what we eat most of the time, and that goes to like the coronavirus. In Detroit, people were making fun of the notion that they deemed the liquor stores as essential. They forgot one key thing. It's called food desert. And that was the places in the community that them people could even go get canned goods, to get toilet paper, to get dish detergent to wash the dishes, right? I mean, you know, so people aren't in control. Poor people, and that's majority African Americans are poor, but a lot more of us are not poor. They don't tell that story, but the majority of us are poor. You know, they don't control what they eat. They don't have access to the organics. I mean, I'm a college professor, and buying organic food is not always the most economic convenient for myself. So someone with food stamps may not have that option. They got to get as much as they can, as well as the, WIC approved products, right? Some of which may be good on the health chart, but we may have contention, right? Too much gluten, too much red meat, or whatever. We may have, or how it's processed, right? But that still goes back to the decentral.
Right.
Right? You know, I mean, even now, like, we view soul food as being bad, but the soul food isn't really what's bad. It's some of the products that we've turned to delicacies in the soul food entrees, right? Because we've turned something that was a castaway, like the mustard or the turnip, the leaves. And if you don't drink pot liquor to feel better, I don't know where your grandmama from. I mean, right? I mean, that's something that even if it ain't true, we still believe, right?
Right.
You know, I mean, but that decentering. I mean, we're talking about emotional wellness, right? Think about it in relationships, right? I mean, Black men are in emotional crisis just like Black women, but really when we come to suicides, it's a big problem in my fraternity. So I know it's across the board because we've had prominent men in Kappa Alpha Psi over the last 12 years commit suicide, right? The one guy that was the star on one of them little Disney shows that was after I was a kid, some Jackson, he was the Black kid, he was like a detective kid, whatever, right? He was one of my frat brothers committed suicide, for example. right? I mean, we're so displaced even in relationships, uncentered in relationships, right? What is our role in the relationship? What does a family look like? We're trying to model a model that may not even be best suited for us and never have. A model to be argued that the world had never lived in practice, but until the United States started forcing us to try to live it in practice after World War II, and that's this nuclear family. This one generational family abode, instead of multi-generational, this so-called patriarchal family, now matriarchy, is somehow a pathology, right? They had to report on Black people, the American dilemma. In that report, the Moynihan report, where they said we had a pathology in the Black community and it was matriarchy. Wow. Right? Multi-generational matriarchy.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask this question because you're really touching, you're brushing up very, very hard against our word of the day, and that's one of the pillars of wellness, and that's emotional wellness. But you're also brushing up against a lot of other pillars of wellness, and you're also touching on the financial wellness, the physical wellness. You hit that right in the head when you talk about our physical diet. So I want to ask you, when it comes to a person in this country, especially people of color, when we're trying to make all these paradigm shifts so that we're parallel with what we are being told we should think, feel, and believe, how does one enhance their emotional wellness? Because we're being bombarded by so many different things outside of ourselves that's telling us this is what wellness looks like. So how do we get to that emotional, mental, physical wellness? But I'd like you to try the emotional first.
Indeed. And I think they're tied, obviously they're tied together. One, the first thing, right, and it's an old phrase, and it's been used in the Black community amongst those who have been trying to develop constructs and models to do and address exactly what you said, right? And that's know thyself.
Yes.
And in the Black community, we frame it as what? Knowledge of self.
Exactly.
And that has a lot of inclinations that I think aren't explored. It's just down to the base level to know that you're a Black person from Africa, blase spleet. No, truly know yourself as a person. And you have to be honest with yourself. You got to be comfortable and honest with yourself, your flaws, your strengths, the things you did wrong, you ashamed of, the things you did great that you're proud of. You really got it. It's no way around it. And there's nothing, no fancy words, no fancy strategy that's going to allow you to get around that. The most painful thing to do, Michael Jackson said it, is to look at that person in the mirror. Right. But you have to do it and give yourself frequent, honest self-evaluations. Because if no one can evaluate you more harshly than you can evaluate yourself, that's a level of confidence that you've now established that didn't exist before. That's a level of validation you no longer need that was there before, because you are honest and you truly know yourself and you're being honest with yourself. I can't stress that enough, and I know it is painful, right? People lie, Lauryn Hill said it, every day people lie to God. So I know people lie to themselves, and I know they lie to me, right?
And I think, and Kevin, I don't know, but Kevin and I, we talk about this all the time. It's the narrative, and I love how Kevin says it. It's the narrative that people continue to play in their head. Yes. So we have to come to a higher level of consciousness and awareness of the narrative that's playing in our head, so we can take the needle off the record. You know, I give a program to people now. I tell them, look, I'm going to help you take the needle off the record. So the thing is, and I want to pose this to both of you. How do we help people take the needle off the record that's playing in their mind? How do we do that?
Kalonji, you go first.
All right. Well, I tell you, for a long time, things hadn't been going exactly how I wanted some years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I constantly was telling myself, you got to do better, brother. Your life is in shambles. You got to do better, brother. Last summer, my life was not in shambles. My life was great. And I told myself that. And I said, wait a minute. I'm creating a false narrative. So I'm glad you framed it that way. I'm creating a false paradigm that there is a crisis where a crisis doesn't exist.
Right.
Yes.
You know, so the first, what I would, with many people, or the type of young people I have to mentor as a college professor, so undergrads, and that's the first thing I would say to get them to take the needle off is, if you're being honest with yourself, are you creating false crisis? Are you creating a false narrative of woe is me? You know, and are you ignoring what's really some problems to be fixed because you have created and are stressing and are trying to address these artificial problems, right? And Black people, we do that a lot because we have so many microaggressions. Mm-hmm. So we feel under attack on all levels. Mm-hmm. So some things that aren't true attacks or even things that really matter and affect what we're trying to do, we focus on them, and that harms our emotional and mental wellness. I mean, how many people, I'm going to cut this light on, but how many people do we know that it's always some mess going on, and you be like, it can't be that much drama. Yes. It can't be. It can't be, right?
Yes. So Doc, yeah, please turn that light on. So Doc, while you turning that light on, I want to ask our viewers. Doc just asked us, how many of us know that it seems like everywhere we turn is always some mess going on? Mm-hmm. Okay. And really life is happening. Life is happening to us in every turn, as it should. But let me ask you this. How many of you identify that it seems like it's always some mess going on? Mm-hmm. So if you can identify with that, go ahead and put a 6 in a comment down below, that it seems to be always some mess going on that does impede your mental, physical, and emotional well-being, because Doc is going to give us some nuggets on how to rise above that.
Now, what I want to say while he's getting set up is what Dr. Kalonji said, a couple of things is like very true. I think I've had clients, especially the men, that, you know, things could be going well.
Yes.
And then something would tell them that it's not, and then they'll self-sabotage themselves, and then they get into this crisis. But it's like self-inflicted. And I'm like, you did this. But then what he said too also was that we as a community have to be able to look in the mirror and see what we're bringing to the table. You know, what narratives we need to change in ourselves and what we need to change in our mindset. Now, with that being said, I completely agree. So what do we do with the people? Because that's hard for a lot of people to do. But what do we do for the people who says that's hard for us to do when we still, you know, have the slave trauma mentality coming through? Mm-hmm. So what would you say about that, Doc?
Oh, that's good. That's a good question. Because, right, it's twofold, right? The slave mentality, and then what one scholar described in the system, I'm sure familiar with it, the post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, you got two things at play, right? So that slave mentality, and that's what Dr. Carter G. Woodson was talking about. So that's where I would say Black history, Black studies, but Black history can serve as a foundation of that. To find that pride and value in oneself, to find it within, right? Mm-hmm. So you're finding it within the community. Because it's so often that we see it perpetuated on television. Like, we still say it's more Black men in prison than in college. That hasn't been true for 2 decades. But we still say that.
Right.
We believe it to be true. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we have these views about ourselves and our communities based upon that lack of information. Mm-hmm. And as they come out with more and more information, so we're relying on outsiders, but nonetheless, then people are amazed. Like the Madam C.J. Walker story on Netflix. People couldn't understand that, me as a Black historian and others, and mostly Black women, were greatly disappointed because they played the other sister.
Right.
The
but also, but also, Doc,
yeah,
we have to understand our real history, because Madam
That's
C.J.
my point.
Walker was the protege
That's my
of
point.
Miss Malone Turnbull, okay? And
That's my point.
Turnbull Malone. And I gotta say that if we don't know where we really came from, and Kevin says this all the time, somebody else telling our narrative, then we don't know where we're going. And quickly, not to interrupt, but I wanted to say this. I just got something from North Carolina, Phyllis M. Weaver. She said that she agrees with everything you said. Very powerful. So I wanted to acknowledge her, because she was trying to type something in. She said she couldn't type nothing in, but she wanted to let you know that she agrees with what you're saying. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I'm down in North Carolina myself. So we in quarantine. Awesome. So thank you, Phyllis.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, indeed, right. That was my point of what you pointed out, how it's misrepresented. So imagine how much is omitted. So we believe things or do not know things that hasn't been hidden, but we haven't sought it, or our parents weren't trained. I mean, it's systemic, right? I had to teach my mom how to read. So you know what I'm saying? So right, so I can't expect a person with a family who has a 6th grade education to be up on the latest Black history book from UNC Press. So I get that, right? So, but getting it, public library, whatever, but that basic foundation of Black history, right? And then that post-traumatic slave, that slave mentality, that's that internal fight that a person's gonna have, and that self-confidence, that centeredness, and finding their own true position, goal, mission in the community. What role do I want to play in the community? I mean, that really, right? I mean, just think of how many people. My brother is a veteran, retired from the military, like 80% disabled. He's bored, right? But he hadn't found his place in the community, right? It could be mentoring, it could be coaching, it could be all the things we say we need people for. We have the people for it. Right. We have everything we need. It's just our mentality. We don't know what to do. Civil rights. That's where we kind of going wrong by being stuck. Civil rights movement. We didn't look at the movement afterwards. Black power, because it's been boxed as this Black hate. They missed the Black psychology, Naeem Akbar. We've missed the Black economics. We've missed the identity. We've missed political parties. All of the issues we facing now, we've already have the answers to. And wellness, that's what we haven't been able to fix, because that drives everything. You know, a whole and well family makes a whole and well community.
Absolutely.
And you know, Doc, you touched on something. You talked about how we create our own dysfunction, and you didn't use that term, but really we create our own mental dysfunction by false evidence appearing real, because there are some things that aren't really happening in our lives, but we're saying that they're real, so therefore we're attracting them to our lives, and it's perpetuating more of the same. So I like that you touched on that. And so for those that are listening, if you love what you're hearing, go ahead and put in number 3 in the block below, because I'm telling you, Doc is serving it up. He's giving us some nuggets to see what's really going on in our own minds, and giving us nuggets to help overcome it. And so really quickly, I want to go ahead and say thank you, Daisy, out of South Carolina. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you. Dr. Sandra Brooks out of Augusta, Georgia. Thank you for coming to the show. We have the Philippines on lock with us. We also have Miss Weaver out of North Carolina. Thank you, Phyllis, for joining us. We have some other folks. It's hard to bring you up in the feed, but I see some of your pictures. We have people all the way from the Philippines. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Go ahead and put down in the comment below where you from. And we want to send you out some more love and thank you for tuning in with us. And just thank you for being here. So,
Um,
those of you that's just contacting or just coming on, this is none other than the amazing Dr. David Walton. Okay, so we're just so happy to have him. I want you to see this; it's super powerful. So thank you for joining the show.
um, Dr. Kalonji, my question to you is based on what you were saying about the narrative of, there's more men in jail than there is going to college, which we know is false. Um, do you believe that the narrative they try to create on us as African American men, they want to downplay us because they want us not to fully embrace the power that we have, because they know once as African American men we step into our power, we step into greatness, and they are fearful of that.
Uh, definitely, definitely. And yeah, I'll frame it in two ways. Briefly, in a broader way, I mean, yeah, right, to any structure or system of structures, processes, uh, right, anything that isn't going along with the status quo is a threat, right? So by default, us not going along with the status quo as Black men would be a threat, right? And then and that goes to the history of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been a commodity from day one, and to maintain that commodity, that's the difference. That's why Black men have been oppressed more than Black women, and Black women hasn't been oppressed more than Black men, just differently. And then for Black men, one of those differences is the threat of violence. So we pose a physical threat, intellectual threat, financial threat. Women too, but just the physical threat a little less psychologically and culturally, right? Mm-hmm. So as if they have the system set up with the nuclear family and the patriarchal family structure. So by default then, us establishing a Black patriarchal structure that is strong is a threat to white supremacist patriarchy. I'm not saying we need a Black patriarchal society. I'm just saying just the notion of that is a threat to white male patriarchy, the backbone of white supremacy. If we study American history, we see every interest group has achieved gains based upon the struggles of Black people, right? Mm-hmm. So it's only one last step that we as a community need to make, and that's the reunification of the Black family in the way we see it. Not the way they dictate it, but the way we see it. And then we will be literally that threat, that electoral threat, that economic threat, that, for lack of a better way to put it, physical threat, and cultural threat. We are already many of those, but we are coalesced. So Black men, definitely. I mean, prisons. That the commodity now is increasing Black women, but it's always been, basically since the turn of the 20th century, 1900. Rising steadily up until today, Black men have been the main commodity, and we are the main commodity in popular culture. We are the main commodity. Once we go from being consumers to producers, that's a problem.
So if I may, I want to chime in because I get a lot of women that say, well, wait a minute, what is he saying that women of color aren't oppressed or being held down at all? And I don't think that's what
no,
we're
I didn't
saying.
say that.
I think what we're saying, and I'm gonna put this out, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. I think what we're saying is, yes, women of color oftentimes are placed in the same situations that our brothers are placed in, but we're not seen as much of a physical threat as our male counterparts of color are. However, women are equally as women of color are equally oppressed in certain areas as well. And the problem that some women here are seeing is that sometimes women are oppressed in jobs, even in our own families, by our own men of color. So I think, Doc, please speak to that as well, so that the women that are listening understand exactly where you stand, and how women of color also can rise above that.
Awesome. Thank you for pointing that clarification out, because I can't see the comments just yet on my end. No, I want to be very, very clear. Black men and Black women are oppressed. They have very many common oppressions, but then they have different oppressions, right? For example, I don't have to worry about being attacked and raped. I don't think about that when I'm walking down the street at 2:30 a.m. leaving the bar and I've been drinking. That's my Black male privilege.
Right.
So I definitely am not trying, and yes, when we get to misogyny and Black misogyny, yes, because Black men falling for this fake archetype of trying to model the white man's family, that nuclear family. We're trying to model white patriarchy. We are ashamed and never understood what the matriarchy in our communities meant, and the value and the strength, and how we can trace that back to many West, Central, and Southern African communities and cultures where we came from. So it's right. So they're replicating that, and they are trying to find their masculinity and their manhood through the eyes of how the white man views them, and by trying to replicate the white man, right? That is the danger that was in the Black Power movement, that Malcolm X articulated with this, and the Black woman scholar, womanist scholar pointed it out, Sheila Radfield Hill, this promise of protection, that we're gonna protect the Black woman, right? That's the language white Southern men use to justify oppressing white women, as well as lynching Black men, right? We're protecting the sanctity and the purity of white womanhood, taking their agency and voice. Black women have the capability and capacity to protecting and representing themselves, and we are supposed to be a helpmate, just as they are supposed to be our helpmates, and we're supposed to work together. So we got to check ourselves. Brothers got to check other brothers. We talking about wellness. See, this is that mental health stuff that we are teaching, this dysfunction we're teaching to our children. It's generation. That stuff we are creating generational curse, you know, through the way we treat pregnant women when men don't want to be men, and shucking and jiving and dodging and all that. Just wait till the baby born and get the DNA test. But support her while she's pregnant, man. You know, just real basic stuff. I don't like your daddy ain't shit. You know, I heard my mom's family. My mom never said that to me, but my mom's family said that about my daddy once or twice. So one time my mom said, "You just like your daddy," and it hurt. Just imagine that.
And we talk about that often. Kevin and I, and on many of the broadcasts that we have, we put that out because it's a narrative that the child develops and begins to play in their head. And then what happens is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Why? Because we've given them the prophecy to carry, and so they're going to fulfill it. So with that being said, again, and I love what you said about if you have a woman and she's pregnant, support her through that time, and then get a test. But I'm to validate whether you're the father or not. But I'm going to take it a step further, because I'm talking about accountability and responsibility. Wrap it up. Because AIDS is still out here, other diseases are still out here, and if you're in a relationship with a person where it's just a good thing at that time, or one night stand, or I'm gonna kick it with you, or whatever they call it, a cut buddy or whatever, if that is all that it is, then let it be that. Wrap it up so you don't have these children coming onto the earth plane with a parent that's saying, I really don't want to be a parent. I just want to play in the sandbox.
Indeed.
So
Well,
I like that you went there, but I just wanted to take it a step further because we all, men and women, have to be accountable.
indeed. Well, and I mean, and that goes back to wellness, mental,
Exactly. That's what I was gonna
emotional,
say.
and physical
Yep.
wellness, right? I mean, let's be real, something I talked to my undergrads about. I mean, how many of these young ladies really know about their bodies? How many of them know how to actually had a mother who had the information and was equipped to teach them how to properly maintain and care for their bodies? All the various things that me as a man, I don't know, but I got a mother and a younger sister who's 2 years younger than me. So I only can know what I've witnessed when I was a teenager, my mother hammering into my sister with these notions of pH balances and you know, and then how many of I got to tell my guys, my young male students about hygiene. I don't know what it is about boys. Why don't boys like to wash their behinds? I don't know. Right? And they feet. I mean, I don't got windows in my classroom. They don't open. So them odors, when they come through the gym shoes. But you know, but we joke about it. But that goes to what? Self-confidence.
Exactly.
Self-view. Yes, exactly. And right, that this-centeredness, right? Like who am I, right?
Yes.
You know, that don't have what we have when we had a more intact Black community, not just Black people doing well, but actual communities. We had better communities 20 years ago, but we got Black people doing better today, if that makes any sense. Right. But you know, where you were going to be taught that and held accountable for that. Boy, if you don't go home, you know what? Come here. Let me show you how to wash up. Here's some deodorant. Here's my new quasi-new old underwear and t-shirts. Here you go.
Yeah.
Tighten up. I don't want to see you in school and my brother tell me, because y'all the young kids, that you're bad in school and you ain't got yourself together. And vice versa. We that's part of the wellness we don't have no more.
Right.
We don't have that community, right? We don't have no one checking on us.
Right. And I think that's another reason why Kevin reaches out to so many young men, and he makes that a critical piece of this platform, because young men, oftentimes when they usher into a certain plateau, which is the same with women, there are some personal hygiene aspects that they have to pay more attention to, because mommy not giving you a bath no more. Daddy not giving you a bath no more. So oftentimes they need that male mentor to say, hey, you need to wash this part of your body. You need to pay special attention to this. And now, oftentimes women can do it. And I know a woman right now, she was with an officer in the military. He very high ranking. But one of their stories was when they met, she taught him how to clean himself. And see, you know, so women can do it, but it's different when a man is telling you, because it also is a part of the graduation into manhood when a man shows you and tells you. Why? Because if he's already walking the walk and talking the talk, a lot of times you want to replicate him. And that's why it's so critical for men to have both women and men mentors, but we have to have more mentors. Men have to be and do what they say they're going to be and say they're going to do, because guess what? We need you guys. We need mentors, male mentors as well as women.
And we need them throughout our lives, right?
Exactly.
I'll be 45 next month, and I got mentors that's 10 years, 30 years older than me. We need them until we die.
Absolutely.
And you know what, too? I have mentors that are younger than me.
Yeah.
And you know why? I learned to move the ego out of the way. And you know why? And I think Kevin can say this too, because what we've learned in doing our roundtable with the millennials is that the millennials understand certain things that we may not understand just yet, and they're going to teach us a way to do things and reach millennials in such a way that we've not even fathomed. So that's why it's critical to have a mentor who may also be younger than you, but who has much on the ball to help them.
And since you said that, you know, and he's a professor, so he's probably dealing with the millennials as we speak. So how is it for you teaching the millennial men and women at your school?
Oh, that's a good question, man. And I'm glad y'all have this topic of wellness, wellness and mental health, and actually being someone that's helping them figure out life, and has become more of a priority than the content I teach in the classroom. And of course, that is my whole purpose of being a professor. That's my job, and I think I do well at it. The students seem to think so. But most of the times in my office hours, has nothing to do with class. It's about their lives. They have trying to figure out this mental wellness, emotional wellness. They have larger challenges than what my generation had, or at least that's my observation. I could be being nostalgic about my youth, but oh my goodness. I mean, yes, they're trying to figure out their place in the world. They're like stuck. They feel like they're stuck in history, in history limbo. Like Donald Trump and now the coronavirus is the only thing that's giving them historical relevance. They're like, they're past the civil rights. We had Barack Obama. They was just born into that. They didn't participate in that, right? It's like, we just here and the world is screwed up and everyone's mad at everyone. And I want to be happy to be Black, and they telling me that I can't do that, right? So they are just like, that's it. So it's a challenge. Dealing with them and developing them as people many times it has taken the front seat over actual content.
So let me ask you this, because I can see that they come to you a lot. This more of a mentor as anything else. You know, one of the stereotypes that they have is they don't do well with like criticism or anything like that, or even accepting advice. What's been your experience dealing with them? If you have to give them like any kind of constructive criticism or give them kind of advice, how have they been receptive to you?
Oh, good question. I don't know if my answer is going to be helpful because I'm like the angry uncle. So, you know, I cuss their behinds out. I'm just going to get right to it. So they real receptive and they know what they're going to get. So when they come to me, they're going to get honest criticism. They're going to get love, sometimes tough love, and they know it. So I haven't, beyond what you expect to get from just young people, period, I haven't had any issues with them being receptive. And like the sister said about having mentors that are younger than you, I tell my students all the time, I mean, I learn from them as well, right? So they're teaching me and things of that nature. But yeah, I think we in good hands with the young people. It's just how long are we gonna hold on to the reins until we let them actually take over?
Okay, one more question I'm gonna give to Lotus. So, with that being said, and we all been talking about the importance of mentorship, what would you say to the brothers and sisters that's in our generation and older about the need to really, be out there to try to mentor these young, millennials and the younger ones, because they really need it. But I think a lot of times, like you said, it's a narrative or maybe even ego, like you say, that we feel that they don't want to receive our advice or anything like that. From your experience, what would you tell brothers and sisters like us that what we should do to try to help these young folks who are crying and needing our help and assistance?
Indeed. For me, it's real simple, and this is what I tell people all the time. And this is what my father said to me when he was working a lot and I didn't see him a lot when I was growing up sometimes, and he was mentoring other young boys at his job. And I was like, but I didn't see you, Daddy, and you spend your time with some other boys. And he said, son, it was either I spent time with them or one day I was going to see them at the liquor store and they was going to have a pistol on. He said one of these boys one day was going to be your sister's boyfriend, your sister's husband, i.e. the father of my grandkids. One of these little boys that if I ignored was going to grow up and be your wife's brother, your kid's uncle. Like, we can't escape it. You could delay it, but you can't escape it. So it's either you get in the game or be a victim of it. Because, I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, Pac said it best, right? The system, the hate you gave eats our kids, right?
Right.
That's what he meant by thug life. The hate you gave eats our kids, right? I mean, that's what I tell people. Hey, you can ignore them, but don't complain when one of them kids you ignored is the one robbing you at the gas station.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I love it. Lotus, got anything for me?
Yeah, I got a couple of things for you. So again, we want to acknowledge our viewers. We want to thank you for being here. We've got a few comments, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to read some of the comments and say, hey, Live with Larry, the CEO of Live with Larry, he's on with us out of North Carolina. Good to see you. And the phenomenal Sean Lovely Saxton, she's on with us. She is phenomenal and she's doing some great work. And just so to let you know, she's one of the people on the front line. And she said that the village is missing in the Black community. And she also said it adds value when men mentor our young men in a healthy way. She said, I have mentors that are younger and older than me. So thank you for sharing that, Sean. We appreciate that. And V.O. Martin is on. He said this is definitely powerful. So thank you, V.O., for joining us. And Phyllis M. Weaver, she said that this is very profound. She also said hello to Sean. And Sean said, not the angry uncle, and she threw you a smile and some love, and she said she loves it. And then out of Washington, D.C., Angela Elgin says, today's a chance for the millennials to critically think about the present and the future. Set smart, and she capitalized it, all caps. Set smart goals and dream big. And see, the smart goals, as you know, it has to be what? If you know what a SMART goal is, and no, I'm this to our audience. If you know what a SMART goal is, I want you to put it down below. The second word, I'm gonna give it to you. It has to be measurable, okay? So I'm gonna leave you with that. And then Dexter Saller, the millionaire doctor himself, he's on with us. Hey, Dex, thanks for joining us. Dexter said, yo, N-U-P-E, yo, new. All right, so good. So, yeah, there we go. I probably was saying it wrong, but I just want to say, Phyllis said that she has 2 millennial sons in college and working hard, and that's great, Phyllis. But let me ask you, who are their mentors, and how do you see their mentors impacting them? So that's what I want to ask each and every one of you. Who are the mentors that you have for your children? Because Doc is talking about a generational thing. He's just not talking about the people that's on this broadcast. He's also talking about our children, your nieces, your nephews, your little cousins, your great cousins, your great nieces, your great nephews, and even your friends' children and your frenemies' children. Because like you said, Doc, these may be the same people at the liquor store that's going to hold you up just because they don't know you, because you haven't even connected. And I can identify with what you're saying, because when I was growing up, my dad, he was very active in the community. He spent a lot of time helping to mentor young men and women. And oftentimes I would say, well, Dad, you spending so much time with them other kids. And, sometimes you can get jealous, and be like, well, why are you spending so much time with them? And sometimes people don't really understand, because my parents had and still have, my mom, she's still with us, still has the mentality of it takes a village to raise a child. So Doc, what would you say to the broken village? Because you don't see grandma sitting on the porch no more, because they scared of her sitting on the porch because of the drive-bys. So what would you say to reignite the village mentality?
Indeed. It's going to have to be deliberate. To be honest, I mean, we can start within our families, but that isn't always the most healthy approach because of some of the traumas and stuff that we're discussing. But it's space, right?
Right.
Space is a fixed space. Space is space that we create through networks, right? And we all have networks, whether we use them or not. So now we got to use them to create those villages, right? It could be through your church, it could be through work, it could be through your family, Masonic organizations, fraternal sororities, et cetera, right? We have to create these villages. We no longer can use or rely on geographic space. Most communities, black or white, are now transient.
Right.
Because of the nature of employment, people aren't staying in jobs for 30 years any longer. So people are moving around a lot, right? A lot of gentrification going on. So a lot of communities, regardless of their ethnicities and even economic status, are transient. So we got to be deliberate by creating them through our networks. So even people like, hey, I work at a factory. This man or this lady, you know what I'm saying? She's in a church. His son is in soccer. He coaches. My son is in soccer. Let's network and create our village.
Right. And having said that, Kevin, if I may, we have Andra C. Taylor Jr. from Taylor Made. He's on with us. He's a wonderful businessman. He owns a couple of businesses, and what he does is he helps people help themselves in their small businesses kind of ignite and take flight as well. And Sean Lovely Saxton got what the SMART is, and she said your SMART goal has to be measurable, one, okay, and then it has to be attainable, and then it has to be reachable, and she said she thinks tangible. But we want to say to you that in order for us as a community, as a community of color, and that includes not just people who are from Africa, but if you have melanin in your skin, that includes you. If you're from Latin America, that includes you. If you're from Africa, that includes you. If you have melanin in your skin, Doc is talking to you, but he's also talking to our counterparts, because this is a question that will come up, Doc. So are you saying that we shouldn't deal with Caucasian people, or all Caucasian people bad? And I just wanted to say this, Brother Amin Ojuo once said that, no, we're not saying that. What we're saying is that if you are a friend, you have to love us as we love ourselves. And if you don't love us as we love ourselves, and we talk about African American issues, then you ain't really our friend. So what would you say to our Caucasian counterparts that's asking, okay, Doc, are you saying that all of us are bad? What are you saying?
All right, awesome. That's a great question. As a person, as a human being, as a man, as a father, as a Muslim, I could never say any group is bad, or all people in that group is bad. I am definitely not a bigot, and I'm definitely not a black supremacist. But the thing is white supremacy is a disease that has destroyed the world, and fighting against white supremacy by default is fighting against some negative aspects of the dominant culture. Now, because of my analysis of the world, right? So I have a class-based analysis. So us and white people we are in the same struggle. Racism is used against them to keep the powers that be at top, right? So what I would say to white people, the Caucasians, Europeans, European Americans, white Latinos, because actually most Latinos, Latinxs are black blood, descendants of indigenous Americans and victims of the Atlantic slave trade. But what I would say to white folk is real simple. Work on your communities. Right? Their communities are equally in crises as ours, just in different ways, and some ways are similar. Right? They need to work on theirs. It's that simple thing of, I'm tired of old white politicians like Joe Biden going to the Negro church and say he hate racism. Go to that damn white church and tell the white people that. You see what I'm saying?
But Doc,
yeah.
But Doc, I hear you, and I embrace that. But now, me and Kevin, we do this all the time, and I'm about to do it again. we can't just tell them to go and tell. We got to tell them to go tell and take action.
Indeed.
Tell and take action.
Yes,
Tell
ma'am.
and take action. So
Yes.
when you telling people that you hate racism in your churches, whether they're white, Latino, Mexican, Peruvian, German, West Indian, West African, when you say you don't uphold racism, tell them that that's what you think and that's how you feel from your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual premise. Because when people start identifying that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, it will give them the eyesight that we matter. Not because we're black or white or Latino or Mexican or Peruvian or whatever, but because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So you have to tell and take action. Stop being a part of groups that support racism against anybody. And the reason I say that is because when you hold racism against anybody, what you don't realize is that you're perpetuating the negative energy from racism, which it circles, it circumvents, it comes right back to you, the person that's sending and the person that's upholding it. So run and tell. And I want to say this too. One, thank you, Doc. I just had to interject for there because what you said is so powerful. Dexter, the Dr. Millionaire himself, Dexter Sadler said, Lotus, this is a great space that you have created. Each time I have been able to join in on the program. I want to say Kevin Thornton created this space and gave me the honor and privilege to be his co-host. I want to say that. But I also want to finish what you said, Dex. He said, I always get enlightenment. He said, looking forward to being one of your speakers and educators. So Dex, of course, we want to welcome you on the show. We're going to have you on Lotus Richey Facebook Live. We're going to have you there. And thank you for getting value. So those of you that's watching this broadcast, if you are getting value, from what Dr. Walton is saying, what Kevin is saying, what I'm saying, put a 10 in the comment below. If you're getting value, put a 10 in the comment below. Oh, start a watch party. Like, share, and don't forget, go to Kevin's YouTube page. Go to my YouTube page. Doc, you got a YouTube page?
I don't.
But he about to have one. Go to our YouTube pages and check that out. And one other thing, while you liking and sharing and starting a watch party, Sean Lovely Saxon said, if you are my friend, you won't get upset when I address the racism in America. Stop trying to fix me when you're messed up too, is what I think she's saying. And tell and take action. Thank you. That's right. Tell and take action. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate you.
What I want to ask Dr. Kalonji is, first of all, I receive all the positive messages they're posting on the comments about the space that we're creating and all this. But I was having a conversation before the show with someone, and why isn't shows like this as embraced by us as a culture compared to the Real Housewives and all the other kind of foolishness? Why is it that we are not embracing, positivity and mental, spiritual enlightenment? Because that's what we need in order to elevate ourselves as individuals in a community. So can you tell me what your thoughts on that?
Oh man, that's a great question. We've been socially conditioned. Like we told that so-called conscious rap won't sell, but if we look at it, it's always sold it and never fell off. I mean, J. Cole still goes platinum to this day. Talib Kweli is still packing out indie appearance and concert and shows he does, right? So we're just told this, and then we're being programmed, and now we have young people, like for example, many of those that are college age now, they've never experienced television that there was quality black program on television. Mm-hmm. So it's been normalized, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Kevin, I know you remember we watched Teen Summit on BET.
Right.
We watch BET News with Ed Gordon like it was Sunday night ABC News.
Right.
Right. They don't have those. Right.
Right.
So they're looking in the internet, and that's sometimes a good thing and a bad thing, because they can end up in some places in the internet where they get bad information. But nonetheless, so they're seeking it out. So subconsciously, they know it's false, right? It's just that, it's like conscious rap, underground conscious rap. It gets lost in the internet. That's part of the struggle too. So we got to do better of promoting platforms like this to one another and to others. So people like myself and people like those who are watching and commenting, we gotta do better.
Yeah. And may I add too, Kevin, because that's an excellent question. And I wanted to say, thank you for the healer out of California being on with us, Danielle Cherie. Thank you for coming, joining the broadcast. And Rosemarie Sanchez, great to see you. And I wanted to take this time to acknowledge Rosemarie Sanchez, one, because she has broadcast in 5 other Latino communities. Right? And this is one of the reasons why we have to have cross-cultural connections to bring the message that Dr. David Walton is laying down tonight. But if we don't have the platform to bring it, like the Wellness Architect show, and we don't make the connections across the cultures, then the people that really need to see it can't see it. Because I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of other cultures that I see that think they're better than each other. And it's foolery, in my opinion. You're only fooling yourself, because what you're doing is you're trying to say you're better than this culture, you're better than that culture. And that is the main foundation that keeps people separated. That is the main foundation why, when there is a cure for a disease that France may develop, another country will say, oh, we're gonna wait till we develop our own. If it works in France, it can work in any other country. But because we're so fixed on being separate and unequal, we perpetuate that continued foolery. And that's one thing, Kevin, you said, why do they, these shows like the show tonight that we're on, the Wellness Architect show, you may not get a lot of people funneling in on it, but on these, housewives, and we're not putting the housewives down or nothing like that, but people love to live in fantasy. So I challenge each and every one of you to live in your own reality and create your own reality. And if you want to create your own reality, in the comments below, go ahead and put reality, because Dr. Walton, he talking about some real stuff, the real reality. What is your reality? And I think we got one more person, Annette Hansford out of Patterson, New Jersey. Want to say hey to you. Thank you for coming on the show. Also, the money doctor out of San Antonio, Texas. Again, thank you so much. Charles Marcus Charles is out of Canada. And Miss Sanchez is also out of Canada. So thank you for joining the show. And if you have any questions, I invite you to call in 470-251-4647. Again, if you have any questions that you want to pose to Dr. David Walton, he's a specialist in his area. He also teaches at a university. He's magnificent, and he's in touch with millennials and can give you a perspective from that basis as well. So give him a call at 470-251-4647. We're standing by to take a call from you if you want to ask him a question live here on the show.
I don't even know what to say right now, because he has been bringing the fire, and I am truly grateful for what you have educated the listeners today.
Morgan State in the house. You got some college student, Doc. Morgan State in the house. Zanaya Betty is watching.
Okay, I got some colleagues over there.
So,
one of my colleagues, Jewel, she's a professor in history over there.
So,
okay, fantastic.
Doc, what can we do about our community embracing education? And the reason why I say that is because a friend of mine is doing a documentary on the disconnect between African Americans and Africans and those from the Caribbean. And one of the things one of the interviews that he taped, it was a young man that moved down to Atlanta. I think he was like maybe 13 or 14 at the time when he moved down here, and he wanted to be accepted by us. But in order to be accepted by us, he had to downplay his intelligence because a lot of us looked at intelligence as being nerdy and all that kind of stuff. And so he didn't find his place in the world until he graduated high school and went to Georgia Tech, where he was around all the people who are embraced of being intelligent. So what do we need to do to really embrace education and knowing that it's important for us some way, form, or matter?
Indeed. That's a great question. Kawanza Kunjufu. I don't know, Jawanza Kunjufu, right? He has a video and he has a book, To Be Popular or Smart. Mm-hmm. And it's dealing directly with this issue. And what he discovered is it's related to that slave mentality. It's related to that miseducation or that double consciousness that Carter G. Woodson, W.E.B. Du Bois were talking about. That what is Black culture? What is authentic Black, right? This perceived performance of ignorance, right, is what is presented as Black, and so-called intelligence or the performance of intelligence is so-called white, right? And that is at the heart of that dilemma, right?
Right.
So children are always learning. They love to learn. So at home, we got to take different approaches to learning and teaching. And we got to be realistic and honest, right? Just like what is, a SMART goal, right? So we got to go back to that in many ways. And start with things that they like and they're interested in and get them learning and gaining these skills, right? Mm-hmm. What I've observed, and I'm not an expert on this, but what I've observed is right around 5th grade, you see something happen, right? Students lose interest, many give up. Then you see it happen again around 8th grade, right? And then by the time they go in high school, we have many students who show up to high school who've already given up if they've made it that far, right? So we had to have them interventions. So, that's why I say you got to start with things that interest them, right? They like cars, a lot of books, a lot of activities, a lot of things that involve gaining these critical skills that involve cars. Keep them interested, right? You got to reassure it, reaffirm it. You have to give it value in your homes to your loved ones, to these young kids. You're fighting a lot, but you want to fight that battle. You have to reassure it. You have to give that positive reinforcement. Right. However you determine the best way for you to do it, do it. I'm not going to lie. My daddy used to give me $6 for every A. So I got straight A's. And my brother got D's and he older than me and he got beat. I ain't want to get beat and I wanted money. I'm not saying pay your kids to beat your kids. I'm saying it was me making that determination that it'd be better for my life if I got good grades. But I learned based upon things I was interested in. And I think we're talking about learning, which makes it easier for them to value education. And we have to get away from telling them that the purpose of education is to get a job. It is not. Right. We are wrong. We're setting them up. They like, I can make money other ways. I don't need this. Mm-hmm. So because we're not telling them what the real value is, to learn skills to make you a better person, a better citizen in your community. 1. 2, it's for you can learn skills to help improve the status of your community. That's the purpose for education for Black people. To become better people, to help better our community. So we got to frame it that way. So a young boy will be like, oh, I do want to get an education. I don't want to be a doctor, but I want to be a plumber. Because granny's pipes was always jacked up, and we ain't had no money or nobody with the skills to fix it. I want to start a plumbing company. I'm getting an education to do that. I believe that will do some change.
I love it.
Awesome.
Lotus, what you think?
First and foremost, Doc, I worked in construction for a while after Kodak. After I was a field engineer or clinical engineer for Kodak, I was teaching doctors and clinicians how to run the chemistries on the blood analyzers and all that. But when that dried up, I had to fall back into something that I knew. And I was an electrician in the military, United States Navy. And I was able to, that's right, whoop, whoop. So I was able to go back, yes, sir. I was able to go back and lean on the skill that I had developed. And what I learned when I went back and used that skill, it took me into construction. And what I learned from a lot of people in construction was that a lot of our young people that's coming along, they don't want to learn those skill sets that they need because they look down on people in construction. Well, guess what? People in construction created the house that you're sitting in right now. Indeed. People in construction wire up the lights. They're responsible for air conditioning and all those things. So don't just focus on, I need to be a doctor for the title and what you think is the money, because there are a lot of people that work in construction that make more than many doctors make.
You want to find out something that's very serious? We have to import skilled trades workers in the United States. Right. So they mad at all these Central Americans that are coming over here, but we are importing many of them. Yeah, they just built that stadium in the ATL. Yes. Did you look at them people? They imported them. We're not producing enough skilled trade to keep up with the demand. So the pay has always been good, but even better right now in many sectors, right? Secondly, it's black people fault that did that to the black community. Yes, the NAACP, W.E.B. Du Bois side won. I watched it happen in Detroit. I don't know if my buddy David Bomar is watching, but he was a school teacher. Now he's a postman in Atlanta, but he was a school teacher. He's from Detroit. He went to Eastern Michigan, a mentor of mine, right? He can attest to this. We used to have the best vocational education in high school in the United States of America. Yes. The Emperor of Japan came to Detroit to learn the model when he was trying to modernize Japan. The Kaiser from Germany came over because we were using the German model, right? In the 1990s, I watched it. My dad worked for Detroit Public Schools for over 40 years. I watched it happen. They dismantled the vocational education and pushed solely college prep. And we abandoned an entire generation or two of our black children saying it's college or bust. And if you ain't going to college, then you're worthless and you're nothing. We did that. We did that. And look now, we got to import the Peruvians. And our nephews, our sons, our daughters, our nieces could have been had those jobs and careers.
Yeah, and what happens is we left so many of those skills behind. So now where you once could walk into it, you can't walk into it. You have to have a track record that you have these skills so that you can sustain when you're on the job. And another thing I might add is that this is something that we need to look at from a country standpoint, because this is one of the problems that we're facing right now, even in the coronavirus, where many of our masks are made overseas. Why? Because our business owners shipped so many jobs overseas because of low wages, because they were able to pay people lower wages. They were able to create the products at a lower cost overall. So therefore, now right here in this country, people have gone to creating masks in their homes. And special shout out to Quinn Bartlett. She made 100 masks for the hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, and made masks for other people who need them, who could not buy them, find them in the store, on Amazon, nowhere. So I want to say also, Doc, the great points that you brought up. We have to regroup right here, because if we don't, we in this coronavirus has already given us a rude awakening, but there is more yet to come. So we've got to start funneling the businesses back into America, because America is not a manufacturing company. a country. We don't manufacture like Taiwan. We don't manufacture like Japan and other countries. They manufacture like Hungary and places like that. So
Indeed.
we have to bring the thing back home. And it starts in our homes, not outside of our doors.
Indeed, indeed. Well, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, you know, we got these multinational corporations, globalization, global economy. Yeah, it's going to be tough. But no, you're right. It's look at it this way. And we got like Booker T. Washington. I'm a Booker T. Washington and the Boys fan, so I never hate on Booker T.
Yes.
Booker T's organization, the National Negro Business League, they still exist. The Urban League, right? We got opportunities. We got to get these local entrepreneurs. I like what Mayor Bottom is doing down there in Atlanta. I like what my frat, Kasim Reed, was doing, but
Yes,
I like what
Kasim.
Keisha's doing down there. You know, but with these entrepreneur opportunities and what Maynard Jackson had done, shout out to Dr. Maurice Hobson down there at Georgia State, right, and his work. But what Maynard Jackson did to get them black contracts for the airport, for the Delta terminal, all those things, right? We got these models. There's
Right.
great opportunity. So we look at these crises. We look at what the crisis exposed. Great opportunities. We got
Yes.
these wealthy blacks. So maybe they are truly woke. We'll see. But we got the real billionaires, the fake billionaires, the millionaires, the multimillionaires, the thousandaires. We got opportunity. We got brilliant young black people. We got to
Right.
let go of the reins, let the young black people take lead. We got to fund them, fund their ideas, startups, .coms, physical brick and mortars, all the above. There's no excuse. There's no excuse why Sean Carter, Cliff Harris, Beyonce Knowles, and whoever else, whatever, can't do these things. And the time is now. I hate to have to cut it short, y'all, but I am gonna have to make a quick exit in about 39 seconds.
But before you quick exit, give a final thought and then you can be out.
Really, thank you. I'm going to restate what I said. Truly, obtain knowledge of self, be very honest with yourself, and do very frequent and critical self-evaluations. Anybody. Barack Obama needs to do it. I need to do it. The little boy sitting in the trap house trying to figure out what he's going to do tomorrow. Everyone needs to do it. And that's the only way that you will be able to have a true love for yourself and be on the path to any type of true emotional wellness.
I appreciate you, sir. It's been an honor and a privilege to showcase an intelligent black man like yourself. Can you do me a favor? Is text me your email address, and I will send you the link via email to you either tonight or tomorrow, so then you can share it to all the people you want to share it to as well. And if you're free tomorrow, I'm gonna text you. Let me know what time is good for you. I want to talk to you about some other things too. Okay?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Doc, if you would go ahead and send me a friend request to Lotus Rashay, and I'll have you also on my Facebook Live show. We're also broadcast in over 7 countries, and I think it would be profound to have you on that show as well, because we can't stop the message here. And by all means, please do come back. And those of you that's still with us, before Doc makes his exit, please send him some thumbs up and some hearts. Put them in there. And also, please, if you want to hear from the Doc, please put in 11 and 11 in the comments below, because we got to bring him back. We got to bring him back. So thanks, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you all. Indeed.
All righty. Yes, sir. Lotus.
Sir. God, Doc blew it up.
Man.
Whoo!
Yes, he did. What's your parting words, ma'am?
My parting words is thank you to everybody that was here tonight. Dr. David K. Walker. And pronounce his middle name, Kalonji?
Kalonji.
Kalonji was with us, and I'm going to hold this up so it stay etched in your mind. Dr. David Kalonji Walker was with us tonight. He blew up the spot, giving us some great nuggets that we could use, dropping that positive information. So I'm blessed. So with that being said, please go ahead and share, like, start a watch party. And also, we want to keep bringing great guests to the program like this. So please don't hesitate. Hit us up with your any donations, love offerings, whatever you want to call it, to keep guests like him coming to the show. And you can hit me up on my PayPal. I'll have somebody put it below. You can hit Kevin up on PayPal, because we want to keep these wonderful people coming on the show. And also, don't forget, check out Jeff Martinet Jr.'s show tomorrow. I'll be live with him at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think we got something in here. Grace Bautista, hey, from the Philippines, thank you again. We love that you're here with us. We appreciate you. So with that being said, the way you can reach me is Lotus Rashay Ignites on Facebook. You can reach me on YouTube, just like you can reach Kevin on YouTube. Also, if you need to email me for one-on-one coaching or business or personal coaching, you can reach me at lotusignites@gmail.com, and my personal information, or in my personal email, and I'll surely get you back. Kevin, how can they reach you for one-on-one life coaching and consulting?
Thank you for that throw. Before I do that, can you do me a favor?
Anything.
That young
Except
man.
Robert Bank.
Huh?
I'm trying to stay out of trouble.
Okay. That the guy that wants to be on the show, that you said that can you reach out to him, see can we be on the show for Monday?
I'll call him right now.
All right, see if we can do the show Monday. And
I'll call him right now.
let's keep the motivation going. For me, you can reach me via Facebook at Kevin Thornton, or at the Wellness Architect business page. Instagram is at Mr. Kevin Thornton. Well, I mean, we're talking about at the Wellness Architect. Twitter is at Mr. Kevin Thornton. You can email me at KevinT, it's in Tom 211 at hotmail.com, and you can put life coaching, health coaching, or detox program in the subject, and I'll get back with you.
Hey.
With that being said, my last words is this. What we're going through right now with the coronavirus is God's way, and the universe, Allah, whatever you believe, is His way of us to create a reset.
What you got, Dex?
We gotta do a reset.
Yes.
And
Dexter, would you like to be on our show next Monday?
The reset is going to be spiritual,
okay, fantastic. I'll
health,
make it happen.
Financial.
He's saying his financial parting words, so I'm gonna tell him yes, and we good to go.
Tell him I said thank you.
And he said, "Oh, you can hear me?"
Uh-huh.
Oh, my bad. I thought I silenced my phone. So sorry, y'all. But Dexter, the money doctor said yes. So tune in next Monday when we're gonna have the money doctor on our show.
Thank you, sir.
And
we
said,
appreciate it.
Dex.
But this is your chance to reset, to change your health, because the coronavirus is attacking us with our health. And so in order for us not to have this issue again when it comes back, we have to take our health seriously. So we gotta create the changes. So if we overweight, we got high blood pressure, these are things that we can control and we can fix. Let's take this seriously and fix that. This is an opportunity for us to spend more time with our families and get the family structure in order, like Dr. Kalonji said, because we gotta get that in order. This is all opportunities that the universe, God, Allah, whatever you believe, is putting in us right now. This is our opportunity. We have to seize this moment, and we cannot create an excuse why we're not going to do it. We can't get too comfortable and just be corona and chilling and watching Netflix all day long. This is our opportunity, hands down. So, if you're at a job and currently right now your job is you don't really like it, this is your opportunity to create whatever you want to create for yourself as an entrepreneur, or look for something else while you're sitting here. This is our opportunity. We have to seize the moment. So the time is now. We have to we got to be vigilant about it. We have to be urgent about it, and we can't create any excuses why we can't do anything differently. Because at the end of the day, if we don't take this time to learn the skill, get a hustle going on, build your brand, whatever you need to do to exude the greatness that you are, then it's nobody's fault but our own. And like he said, so at some point we got to take responsibility and accountability for where we are, and this is our chance to reset, redo, and let's go. So with that being said,
You said it, brother.
thank you. With that being said, thank you so much to Dr. Kalonji for being on the show. Thank you to you. You did an excellent job as my co-host. I truly appreciate you. I've been praying for you. I know you've been having some family issues. I pray for you. So I know you had a lot going on. So we just know I'm always there in spirit for you, so don't never think you by here by yourself. So I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys that tune in every week, and those who are tuning in for the first time. We do appreciate you as well. With that being said, thank you and good night. Peace.